Sad you didn't get back in, but I'm super pleased you're back on GB News. You've been missed. Thank you, Dawn. That's very kind of you. Jeff says the Conservative voters have not moved to the right. It's the Conservative Party that's moved to the left. It isn't the party I recognise anymore. And Alan says, one thing Starmer cannot change, my lifelong personal values. Ooh, I'd watch out if I were you, Alan. You never know. Bob, the Tories failed to deliver on virtually all of their promises. From afar, they seem to spend all their time fighting each other and generating one scandal after another. The betting scandal was the last straw. Well, the first small boat migrants to cross the English Channel under the new Labour government have arrived. This morning, 64 illegal migrants were brought into Dover on a Border Force vessel and taken to the Migrant Processing Centre in the harbour. This comes one day after new Home Secretary Yvette Cooper announced steps towards creating the new Border Security Command. And they won't be going to Rwanda either. It will be given counter-terror powers and specialist officers to, in Labour's words, tackle the problem at root. Will it work? Or is Border Security Command simply tough talk that will mask Labour's reluctance to reduce illegal migration? I'm joined now by Dr. Mike Jones, Director of Migration Watch, as well as my panel, Telegraph columnist Tim Stanley and the author and broadcaster Amy Nicole Turner. Well, Mike, thank you very much for coming in. Is this just a sort of Thunderbirds ago announcement of this new security thing, or is there any seriousness to it?
I don't think there's any seriousness to it. It's already been tried and tested. Essentially, the Labour Party wants to create a central unit, this, Border Security Command. But a central unit was already created under the Conservative Party. It was known as the CCTC. And essentially, it did what the Labour manifesto promised. So it provided this joined-up approach. It brought various organisations and groups together. It provided, real-time information and, sort of avenue to the cabinet itself. But did it make any difference to the numbers? No, it didn't. I mean, the fact of the matter is you cannot smash the gangs. That's a very unpopular thing to say, but you can't smash them, A, because they're extremely agile. They're decentralised, they're amorphous, very difficult to infiltrate. The second is that those that are prosecuted under, sort of anti-trafficking laws are the illegal migrants themselves. They've often been co-opted to, man the boats and so on. So they're very difficult to smash. It's equivalent to whack-a-mole.
If you could smash the gangs, we'd have smashed drug dealing years ago, wouldn't we? Yeah. It's just an unrealistic, pious hope. And it seems that the Labour Party is just promising to do things that the Tories tried that have failed. Why should they work just because they're done by a different government?
Well, they won't.
So we have to pull out of the Human Rights Convention. So the only answer is to do this properly, is to have a scheme that means people can be deported, and we can't deport them as long as we're tied into the ECHR. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, the ECHR is embedded into domestic law through the Human Rights Act, so you'd have to amend or abolish the Human Rights Act.
Which Labour love, so they're not going to do that.
Precisely.
So actually, this is all a complete waste of time.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, Amy?
I was with you. It's like akin to drug dealing. It's like whack-a-mole, but the only solution is, and that's where you went wrong, because the solution is safe and legal routes. It's the moral answer, it's the economic answer, it's the practical answer, and it's the only way that you are going to start to solve this problem. Because at the moment, we just have chaos because there is no alternative route, and you are not going to stop the demand of this, especially with increasing climate change, increasing conflict around the world, displaced people. There are only going to be more of them. And at the moment, we have nothing to offer them.
If you have safe and legal routes and you don't get through on a safe and legal route, what's to stop you coming on the illegal route? Doesn't it just increase the numbers because you have those people coming and you have the illegal routes too?
At present, we have nothing on offer unless a very, very limited number of people from Hong Kong, Ukraine and Afghanistan. I think in total we have offered refuge to about 8,000 Afghans. No, it's a lot lower than that, actually. And we need something akin to...
But how do the safe and legal routes help stop?
Can I give an...
I just need to know why they stop the illegal migrants. Because I understand they bring people in who may deserve to be here.
For the same reason,
question.
If you regulate anything where there is a supply and demand, you offer the demand. You offer the supply, sorry. So...
But the supply is much greater than the demand.
We had a problem with the Syrian conflict in the early 2010s, and thousands of people were dying trying to get here. We were very reluctant to join that scheme, but we did, and we resettled, I think, 20,000 Syrians, and that saved lives. That safe and legal route is an example.
That was a very good thing to do, but that didn't stop people trying to come here illegally.
It certainly made a dent I mean, at the moment, we do not contribute our fair share whatsoever.
Tim, I mean, what Amy seems to be saying may in itself be worthy, but I cannot see how this actually reduces the numbers who want to come illegally, because they are basically economic migrants who want to get here and willing to pay £1,000 to get here. So they carry on.
Well, the safe and legal routes point is complicated. The government found itself in the position at one point of saying, if you want to apply from Afghanistan, you'll have to leave the country, but we advise against you leaving the country. So you end up in a ridiculous catch-22, because if people wish to come from Iran, for instance, well, they've got to leave Iran in order to come, and they've got to go somewhere else, and thus they get sucked into this complicated system. With regards to Rwanda, though, Rwanda is dead. It could never have worked because of the various legal challenges against it. So long as any government wasn't willing to actually tear up the sort of legal framework that made it possible to challenge and refuse to do it, i.e. by rewriting the Human Rights Act, leaving the ECHR, Rwanda wasn't going to happen even if Rishi Sunak had won re-election. Therefore, if deterrence will not work, what are you left with? And what Labour is saying is you're left with enforcement. So let's have a go at making it actually work. And I'm sure there's some collective memory of back in the noughties, the big issue with asylum seekers was people coming across the channel in cars and things like that. And actually, the new Labour government was quite successful at stopping that particular route. So now they're going to have another go. I'm of the view that, I'm not saying you're saying this, but let's not pretend that 72 hours into the Labour government, Britain's gone to the dogs.
No.
Let's let them go. I mean, the way it's being presented, the first boatload of people has arrived. Well, quite a few arrived before Labour became elected. Let's give them a chance to see if the policy works. I hope it does, because, as I say, if you cannot do deterrent because you won't change the legal structure, you have to do enforcement.
Every deterrence measure has only seen increased arrivals, every single one. So deterrence doesn't work.
Isn't it actually the same problem that the Conservatives had? That the Conservatives promised a solution which was Rwanda, but they weren't willing to go through with what was required to make it work, which meant leaving the ECHR and repealing the Human Rights Act. Here, we've got an enforcement that has already been tried, and that therefore trying to repeat the same thing and promising this will be your answer is, again, promising the electorate something that's very unlikely to happen.
Well, people are going to see that this is the Labour government's general approach. Their argument is that the last government was about gimmicks and a failure to deliver because it was too busy at war with the state and Brexit and all that sort of stuff. Whereas their argument is, OK, let's pause, let's use the state and the structures we've got, let's put some more money in them, hire some more personnel, and maybe we can actually make the state work. We'll see if it works or not, but I think there are one or two problems like this where there's some bigger systemic structural reform that's probably needed. I
think it's an attitude. We need to change our attitudes. I was looking today, we have shortages in construction, shortages in agriculture. There are so many requirements for people, and people are literally dying to come to this country, and we're saying, no, you go in a travel lodge.
But you yourself there are blurring the line between someone who's fleeing persecution and someone who wants a job. And that's part
of the problem. You can flee persecution
All right,
and also
we're going to
want a
have
job.
this conversation go on forever, but thank you to Dr. Mike Jones and to my panel. Coming up, are you happy with the Labour plan?